A monitor said on Monday at least 20 civilians were killed on Sunday as Syrian regime forces were poised to retake a key motorway connecting Damascus to second city Aleppo after weeks of battles in the rebel-held Idlib region. The regime and its Russian ally have been engaged in a fierce weeks-long offensive to take back the vital M5 artery which connects Aleppo, once Syria's economic hub, to Damascus at the Jordanian border. A section of the highway southwest of Aleppo city still lies under control of rebels who dominate a shrinking, densely populated territory centered on neighboring Idlib province. Pro-regime forces have been chipping away at the area in an assault that has sent 500,000 people fleeing north towards the Turkish border. The United States has signaled to Iraq its willingness to extend sanctions waivers enabling the country to continue importing vital Iranian gas and electricity imports, 3 Iraqi officials said this week, a move that would be a key test of Baghdad-Washington ties. The decision comes amid strained U.S.-Iraqi ties following last month's Washington-directed airstrike in Baghdad that killed a high-profile Iranian general and a senior Iraqi militia leader. A previous waiver granted in October is set to expire on February 13th. The 3 officials said the U.S. State Department, which issues such waivers, has conveyed its readiness to extend the waiver for another 3 months if Iraq is able to formulate a timeline by the end of the week. The head of the World Health Organization has warned that confirmed cases of coronavirus being transmitted by people who have never traveled to China could be the tip of the iceberg. His remarks came as members of a WHO-led international expert mission flew to China on Monday to help coordinate a response to the outbreak that has so far infected more than 40,000 people and killed 908 in the country. While the virus spread outside China appeared to be slow, he said that it could accelerate. The organization said in recent days there had been some stabilizing in the numbers of new cases of coronavirus in China, but the UN agency cautioned it was too early to say if the virus had peaked. Workers began trickling back to offices and factories around China on Monday as the government eased some restrictions on work and travel in the wake of the coronavirus epidemic that has now killed more than 900 people, mostly on the mainland. Sunday's death toll of 97 was the largest in a single day since the outbreak was first detected in December at a seafood market in Hubei province's capital, Wuhan. According to the National Health Commission across mainland China, there were 3,062 new confirmed infections, bringing the total number so far to 40,171. Local media said Monday testing aboard the Diamond Princess cruise ship in Japan has found 60 more confirmed cases of coronavirus. That takes the number of coronavirus cases on the ship docked in Yokohama, south of Tokyo, to 130, according to local broadcasters, citing Japanese health ministry sources. The ministry's communication office had no information on the report. The Diamond Princess was placed on a 2-week quarantine on arriving at Yokohama on February 3rd after a man who disembarked in Hong Kong was diagnosed with the virus. The United Kingdom on Monday declared the new coronavirus a serious and imminent threat to public health, a step that gives the government additional powers to fight the spread of the virus. The Department for Health and Social Care said the Secretary of State declares that the incidence of transmission of novel coronavirus constitutes a serious and imminent threat to public health. It added measures outlined in these regulations are considered as an effective means of delaying or preventing further transmission of the virus. The government designated Arrow Park Hospital and Hence Health Park as an isolation facility and Wuhan and Hubei province in China as an infected area. Prime Minister Jin Prayut Chan-o-cha cheered up victims of the shooting rampage at Maharaj Hospital, assuring the authorities they have taken action by law and maintained the people's safety. Meanwhile, authorities in northern Thailand began releasing bodies to relatives Monday after security forces cornered and killed a soldier who carried out the country's worst mass shooting in an hours-long siege at a shopping mall. The soldier killed 29 people, starting with his commanding officer, in a stunning tragedy that began Saturday and ended Sunday morning when security forces shot dead the heavily armed attacker in Terminal 21 Korat, an airport-themed mall in Nakhon Ratchasima. Azerbaijan's ruling party was leading on Monday in a snap parliamentary election called by President Aliyev to consolidate power and speed economic reforms by replacing the old guard associated with his father. Candidates from the ruling New Azerbaijan Party won about 65 of 125 seats in the single-chamber parliament, Nazahir Banakov, the Central Election Commission head, said after counting the results from around 110 districts. A host of small parties and independents loyal to the government took almost all the rest. The single-chamber parliament is elected every 5 years through voting for individual candidates in electoral districts. Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg locked horns in the fight for the U.S. Democratic presidential nomination Sunday as they scrambled for votes with just 2 days to go before New Hampshire's closely watched primary. The 78-year-old Vermont senator and the 38-year-old former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, came top of the first contest in Iowa, marred by messy confusion about the result, giving each momentum as Democrats seek a candidate to take on Donald Trump in November. Sanders, a leftist who won the New Hampshire primary by landslide in 2016, led in 4 polls released Sunday, each of which had the moderate betting in second, followed by Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren and then former Vice President Joe Biden. Hundreds of flights and train services were cancelled across northwest Europe on Monday as Storm Ciara swept in packing powerful winds after lashing Britain and Ireland, where tens of thousands of homes were left without power. Dozens of domestic and international flights have been cancelled, while rail companies in Scotland and Wales have urged passengers not to travel and say they will operate reduced timetables and speed restrictions. Swathes of northern France were put on orange alert, and 130,000 homes had electricity cut off amid fears of coastal storm surges. Ciara was heading south through France on Monday, with the electricity network company Enedis reporting outages from Brittany in the west to the center and east. Bundesliga leaders Bayern Munich drew 0-0 with visiting RB Leipzig Sunday, missing their chance to increase their lead at the top of the table, with their opponents staying a point behind in second place. Bayern, top on 43 points, enjoyed possession in a dominant first half, but failed to score despite chances from Robert. Leipzig, without a win now in their last 4 games in all competitions, waited patiently for their chances, and they got them after the break. But both Marcel Sabitzer and Timo Werner fired wide to squander golden scoring opportunities. The HSBC Women's World Championship, scheduled to take place from February 27th till March the 1st at the Sentosa Golf Club, has been cancelled due to ongoing coronavirus situation. The Honda LPGA Thailand, which was to be held from February 20th till 23rd in Pattaya, will also not be played. This makes the HSBC tournament the most high-profile sports event in Singapore to be affected by the coronavirus issue thus far. Last week, the Ministry of Education announced the suspension of the National School Games till March, while some smaller sports events have been either cancelled or postponed.